Broken Hillary goes into psychotic rage in India, finally confirms what she's hidden for months. By Al Waisman for DailyVine.com. Former presidential candidate Hillary Clinton can't seem to manage to stay on her toes these days, but when it comes to attacking President Trump and his family, she can run a marathon. And although she is currently on a worldwide speaking tour, she still manages to both attack and slip and fall. After leaving India, where she made a spectacle of herself after showing the world how the person who wanted to be the U.S. president walks down a flight of stairs, Hillary made an appearance on Dutch TV where she was asked about the possibility of President Trump's daughter becoming the first woman U.S. president, to which she replied the same way she replied when in 2016 she was asked if Donald Trump could beat her. She said, "That's not going to happen." Vorge, week, whatever. Oh, I'm sorry. It's all in Polish. Sorry about that. That's funny. Hillary said Ivanka won't be president, but she said the same thing about Trump. Hillary's going to have a major breakdown when Ivanka wins in 2024. Okay.
And apparently Ivanka Trump wants to be the first female president of the United States.
That's not going to happen.
No?
No.
How come?
No, we don't want any more inexperienced Trumps in the White House.
I think that normally I would like to believe what you're saying, but I've also learned after these elections that things that we didn't expect to happen sometimes do happen.
Well, that's true, but, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And I think the American people have seen for themselves what happens when a reality TV candidate wins. Mm-hmm. And I really believe there's an enormous amount of pent-up energy to take our country back away from the Trump administration. And I believe we've got a very good chance of winning the House of Representatives, which will begin the process of righting the ship of state.
Yeah, Hillary. Keep dreaming, Hillary. If you watched a translated version of the interview closely, you can see what Hillary's real issue is. She's just terrified of the prospect of Ivanka Trump becoming the first woman president of the United States of America. And although she might belittle and ridicule the idea, she pretty much knows the threat is real and the U.S. might very well have Madam President Trump sometime in the future. You forgot to ask her what happened to hashtag Seth Rich. It must be a sad existence having to be Hillary. She is the only presidential candidate in U.S. history to have been beaten by a total outsider who had never held public office before, not even school board. And to top it off, she just can't seem to take her loss with grace and dignity. She is currently on tour of the world where she has attacked and tried to belittle our president and those of us who voted for him, which in turn has shown the world who she really is. Sad to see that instead of helping advance our glorious nation, she is impeding it. John McCain and Mitt Romney didn't do that when they lost to Obama. Here's some more info as to how candidate Clinton reacted to losing the 2016 election via Breitbart. The mystery of Hillary Clinton milk carton missing on election night appears solved. A Tuesday of catharsis for Donald Trump voters turned into an evening of rage for Hillary Clinton. The Democratic presidential nominee anticipated the post-election reaction of many of her supporters, began shouting profanities, banging tables, and turning objects not nailed down into projectiles. Sources have told the American Spectator that on Tuesday night, after Hillary realized she had lost, she went into a rage. R. Emmett Terrell reports Secret Service officers told at least one source that she began yelling, screaming obscenities, and pounding furniture. She picked up objects and threw them at attendants and staff. She was in an uncontrollable rage. The appearance of campaign chairman John Podesta at Manhattan's Javits Center and the dematerialization of his heretofore ubiquitous charge perplexed in the first hours of Wednesday. They're still counting votes, and every vote should count, Podesta declared to a sad and stunned hall. Several states are too close to call, so we're not going to have anything more to say tonight. As Podesta recalcitrantly refused to recognize reality. He knew what the reality was. He just didn't want to come out and say it because the witch was having a tantrum. She was bombed out of her mind and having a tantrum at the same time. She was in no physical state to go out and, congratulate Trump on his victory. So refused to recognize reality. Early Wednesday morning, Hillary Clinton called Donald Trump to offer congratulations. The juxtaposition of the campaign chairman publicly vowing to fight around the time the candidate privately conceded the election left observers scratching their heads. Terrell's reporting indicates that Mrs. Clinton's mental state made it impossible for her to address her supporters on election night as custom requests. So instead, Podesta gave a rah-rah speech on a boo-hoo night to cover for the absence of the first woman president, her fireworks and her victory speech, shout-outs to the mothers of the Black Lives Matter martyrs. She is done, yet Podesta claimed Terrell's reporting indicates that indeed Clinton remained far from done. Her aides could not allow her to come out in public, he writes. It would take her hours to calm down. So Podesta went out and gave his aimless speech. I wish we could report on Bill's whereabouts, but we cannot. He took off for the hills. He said, this woman's nuts. And I don't blame him. Bill appeared the following day at Hillary's belated concession speech wearing a purple tie, but thankfully no purple marks around his face, suggesting experience dictated avoidance the previous evening. He took for the hills. That's why he didn't have any marks on him. People say they're amazed Bill's marriage survived. Terrell noted to Breitbart, I'm amazed Bill survived his marriage, right? Terrell's reporting remains a thorn in the side of the Clintons more than 2 decades after the American Spectator published its Troopergate stories detailing Bill Clinton's escapades, as told by his Arkansas security detail, stories that first referenced Paula Jones and pushed the president on the road to impeachment. Nearly 19 years after, Hillary Clinton imagined a vast right-wing conspiracy out to get her husband. The cabal's charter member again relies on the accounts of the Clintons' long-suffering security to unmask the public fears warned by the power couple now out of power. In the 90s, we published several pieces that documented her throwing lamps and books, Terrell tells Breitbart. This happened pretty often. She has such a foul mouth, and that the Arkansas state troopers learned a thing or two from her. She had a foul mouth and a good throwing arm. Yup, everything else doesn't work, but her arm and her mouth seems to work really well. But, notice still the arrogance in her, the way she, listen, I'm not a fan of Ivanka Trump's. She's a liberal. She's too liberal for my tastes, okay? But look at the arrogance in the way she denies it and she's trying to hold her head up there.
Apparently,
Look
Ivanka
at
Trump
her.
wants to be the first female president of the United States.
That's not going to happen.
No?
No.
How come?
No, we don't want any more inexperienced Trumps in the White House.
Who are you to speak? Who are you to speak for the American people? Who is she? And look, do you see her arrogance? We don't want? Who's we? Who's we? Your dumb followers, Hillary?
I think that normally I would like to believe what you're saying, but I've also learned after these elections that things that we didn't expect to happen sometimes do happen.
Well, that's true, but, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And
What do you mean, fool you once? Fool, how did anybody fool her? She fooled herself. She fooled herself thinking she was going to win because they had all the machines rigged with the illegal voters and the dead voters and people voting in multiple states, and she thought she was a shoo-in with the deep state, but little does she know she's going down real soon.
And I think the American people have seen for themselves what happens when a reality TV candidate wins.
I beg to differ, because had she won, we'd have a crisis on our hands, real crisis.
And I really believe there's an enormous amount of pent-up energy to take our country back away from the Trump administration. And I believe we've got a very good chance of winning the House of Representatives, which will begin the process of righting the ship of state.
Do you see her arrogance? The people voted Hillary. The people voted for Trump. What is it that you do not understand? She's delusional on top of that. She is delusional. It has affected her brain cells. Something she's suffering from that has affected her brain cells. She's been in power too long. Basically, that's the bottom line. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And again, thank you so much for watching.